until October, the 200-odd men at Tangalooma cut and process the huge humpback whales which are caught just a few miles away in the blue Pacific. Symbolic of the modern whale chaser is the harpoon gun on the bow, loaded for action with its 180 pounds harpoon with explosive head and heavy manila line. Sailing laws prohibit taking a whale under 35 feet or a mother with a calf. It's said that during the season upwards of 600 whales pass any given point off Moreton Island in daylight every day. This one measures up to the required standard, and away goes the harpoon right to the vital spot. The grenade head, timed to explode 4 seconds after firing, kills this whale instantly. A 42-foot female, equal in weight to 12 fully grown elephants. Now the great mammal has to be brought alongside the little chaser, and steam winches go into action. Then, to facilitate easy towing, an air hose is inserted through the blubber, which forms the outer skin, and compressed air is injected to inflate the carcass in order to make it buoyant. Weighted ropes are passed round the tail to draw the heavy hitching chains over for securing to the ship's side. The harpoon rope is cut away from the strap as the ship steams slowly ahead to maneuver the huge mammal into position before attaching the chain. The tips of the huge tail planes are deftly removed. These gristly fins are a source of danger to man and equipment. Now the lookout is back at his post, with the helmsman standing by. Members of the crew set about reloading the gun. First, a rope is spliced to the harpoon and loaded into the muzzle of the gun. Then the time fuse, and lastly the grenade with its 2 pounds of gunpowder. The gun swings away and all is ready for the next call. And there it is. The skipper has the choice of 9 as the whale surface. He chooses the big one in the middle. With an explosion out of all proportion to its size, the cannon goes off, followed seconds later by the dull thud of the grenade exploding in the backbone of the whale. Again, it's all hands to action stations. The weighted heaving rope swings out and around and is soon replaced by chain. And in a matter of minutes, the whale is securely lashed to the side of the chaser, which is underway again. When the day's catch has been taken, the chaser slowly heads towards Cape Morton, back to the busy little spot at Tangalooma where the real job of work has to be done. The flensing and lemming, the cooking and separating. Tangalooma Station is virtually a miniature township with its modern factory buildings, workshops, canteen, living quarters and bungalow, offices and administration buildings. It has its own water supply, including a hot and cold service and sewerage. And too, there's a fire brigade, even a resident doctor. Its power station is capable of supplying the every need of a small country town, producing sufficient steam to cope with 9 power winches, power saws, and 2 enormous 29-ton capacity cookers. Electric generators for power and light are an important factor in the industry, and 4 auxiliaries are used when pressure of work demands. Modern diesels have now been installed to supplement the steam-driven equipment. A very important section of the maintenance plant is the blacksmith shop. The harpoons are often twisted and sometimes bent almost double from the impact of striking the whale, and it is here that they're skillfully repaired. Yes, hot and exacting work, but under the capable hands of the smithy and his assistant, they emerge almost as new. Now the chasers are back with the day's catch. Cos one nudges her bow slowly towards the slipway leading to the flensing deck, where all is hustle and bustle. A light line goes overside and is taken ashore in the dinghy. A steel hawser from the main hauling winch on the flensing deck is attached and the whale hauled from the ship's side. With hawser made fast, the tail is cast off. A sign to the winch hand starts the first whale on its journey shoreward. At the foot of the slipway, the hawser is replaced by a 4 3/4 inch steel cable for the long drag up the slipway to the deck. A constant spray of water is played onto the timber to facilitate easy sliding of the enormous carcass. Strange to say, only humpback whales are ever seen on the eastern coast of Australia. And fortunately, these are very rich in oil-bearing blubber. Arriving on the flensing deck, which, by the way, is comparable in size to 4 tennis courts, the government inspector checks and measures the carcass, making sure that it conforms to regulation. Now all is ready for the cutting up. Flensing knives, not unlike hockey sticks, with thin, long wooden handles and razor-sharp curved blades go into action. Working to a standard pattern, the complete casing of blubber is removed in 3 strips. And with the aid of winches, the first strip is soon peeling off. A pair of skilled flensers can strip a 40-foot whale in 20 minutes, but complete cutting up usually takes about an hour. As each massive strip is removed, the body is rolled over by means of winches and chains. The blubber is the most valuable part of the whale, and a fully grown specimen carries a layer of up to 10 inches in thickness and will realize upwards of 9 tons of pure oil. On the top deck of the structure, the actual dissection of the whale takes place, whilst immediately below, the cookers and other industrial plant are located. An interesting byproduct is the baleen or whalebone. A series of 380 plates through which the whale strains its food are attached to the upper jawbone. After the lower jawbone has been removed, the baleen is stripped off. Passed on to the portable saw bench, the base is cut away to allow the plates to be singled out before sending them down the chute to be scoured and then spread out to dry. It was at first believed that plastic would outmode whalebone in the fashion trade, but nevertheless it still has a ready market overseas. After after the stripping is completed, short work is made of cutting the strips into small squares for putting into the cookers. The bones are cut into small sections by huge power saws, and they too are fed into the special cookers through the manholes on the main deck. Finally, the lids are sealed and the cooking is underway. Within 3.5 hours, these giant boilers, which work on the same principle as an ordinary household pressure cooker, reduce the contents to oil, with only a small amount of sediment remaining. Then it goes to the separators, where it's cleansed and the impurities removed. It then moves to the measuring tanks, and finally to large storage tanks, prior to shipment overseas, where it's used in the manufacture of margarine and other edible fats. Meanwhile, a further process is taking place on the deck above. Here, stripping or lemming is carried out. After cutting the red meat into small pieces, it is fed through a hole in the deck direct into the Hoosa plant, where it's shredded and pressure cooked. Then, it's transported by conveyor belt to a large revolving dryer. From here, it finally emerges as a high-protein meat meal. Bagged and weighed, it is stored temporarily, before being shipped by barge to the city of Brisbane, where it is ultimately distributed throughout the Commonwealth of Australia. And so we have the story of subtropical whaling by Australians old and new. A story of tiny chaser ships and their gunners. The lonely little station on Sandy Morton Island. This is the Tangalooma Saga.